Hello everyone, welcome back to the contemporary world. Today's discussion is all about the global migration. So this lesson, we will look at global migration and its impact on both sending and receiving countries. Now, although we will cite numerous challenges relating to migration, migration should not be seen as a problem. Human beings have always been migratory, so it is basically the result of their movements that areas get populated, communities experience diversity, and economies prosper. So first of all, we must define migration. And if makahinumdum mo sa ato ang mga lessons sa una, I already defined it as basically the movement of people. No? And I also mentioned about immigration and emigration. But let's go further into it. So there are two types of migration. So there is internal migration, which basically refers to people moving from one area to another within one's country. No? Narasulod sa ilang country sila ni balhin. And napot tayo gitawag og international migration, in which people cross borders of one country to another, no? So kaning international migration, no? It can be further broken down into five groups. So kaning five groups sa international migration, no? The first is katong mo balhin, permanente na silang mobalhin og lain nga country. Those are the immigrants. Naapoy katong mga trabahante ra, igo ra silang mo adto sa laing nasod for a fixed period of time, no? Usually mga 6 months ni sila. Mo ni sila ginatawag og mga migrant workers, no? Sunod, natay puwed kaning mga illegal immigrant. Katong either so daghan ni sila posibilidad, no, either motuyo ra gud sila og adto sa laing country kay dito sila manarbaho or dito na sila mopuyo for whatever reason they may have. Napoy uban nga pwede na sila ma-consider og illegal immigrant kung originally na sila were either working visa, then expired na, overstay sila sa ilang visa. I guess in some situations makonsider po na sila nga illegal na sila kay wala naman sila ni tubay sa process sa migration process, 'di ba? Sa legal migration process. Next na ginatawag og petitioned migrants. So kani sila, muna sila ang mga migrants whose families have petitioned them to move to the destination country. So bali ni petition ni sila sa gobyerno kung sa ilahang destination country nga gana na sila mo balhin ngadto. And finally, we have those what we call refugees, no, or kanang ginatawag po og asylum seekers. So those unable or unwilling to return because of a well-founded fear of persecution on the account of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion, no? So muna sila ginatawag og mga refugees. So demographers estimate nga naas mga 247 million people na karon ang living in countries not of their origin, not of their birth origin, no? 90% ana nila namalhin tungod og economic reasons, while the other 10% namalhin because they are either asylum seekers or refugees or both, no? So kanang top 3 regions of origin aning mga migrants are Latin America, followed by Eastern Europe and Central Asia, then Middle East and North Africa. So if ato taog country per country basis, no, India, Mexico and China, manang tulo muna sila ang kanang leading nga naay mga migrants nga nang sibat or nang namalhin. While Philippines, together with Afghanistan, they only rank as 6th, kaunom ra, no, in the world. So the top 10 country destinations of these migrants are mainly in the West and the Middle East. So the US is the top country kung asa mamalhin ng mga migrants, no? So, mga 50% of the total migrants or the total global migrants have moved from the developing countries to the developed zones of the world. and contributes anywhere from 40 to 80% of their labor force. Now, their growth has outstripped the population growth in the developed countries, such that today, according to the think tank McKinsey Global Institute, first-generation immigrants constitute 13% of the population in Western Europe, 15% in North America, and 48% in the GCC countries. Now, the majority of migrants remain in the cities. No, the percentage of migrants in the cities are 92% in the United States, 95% sa UK or United Kingdom, and 99% in Australia. So once mo settle na ni sila, dako kay ni sila og contribution to raising the kanang productivity anang ilang mga host countries, or kanang host country basically kanang country nga ilang gipuy-an. Okay? So tungod sa kadaghan anang ni migrate, no? Kaning mga destination countries nila, ga-debate ni sila over the issue whether these migrants are assets or liabilities to national development. So naay mga anti-immigrant groups o mga nationalist groups, no? They argue that governments must control legal immigration and put a stop to illegal entry of foreigners. So if ato ra ta sa Amerika magbase, no? There was a kanang article written by kaning George J. Borjas, no? He stated nga, yes, immigration hurts American workers. No, kay atong election atong 2016, para sa ilahang plataporma kaning duha ka kandidato sa Democratic Party ug sa Republican Party, si Donald Trump ug si Hillary Clinton, basically nag-cite sila sa aning article nga iyang gisulat. Pero basically, puro katunga lang ilahang gamit. No? Donald Trump used one of George J. Borjas' economic papers to back up his plan to crack down on illegal immigrants and build a physical wall. Now, according to Donald Trump, decades of record immigration have produced lower wages and higher unemployment for our citizens, especially for African American and Latino workers. Pero kanang istoryahan ni Donald Trump, that's basically just half of the article. Ang si Hillary pod, si Clinton, ang other half, maura pod ang iyang gi-explain. No? So Hillary, for her part, seemed to be telling only the other half, according to Borjas. At her convention, Clinton claimed that immigrants, both legal and illegal, improve the country's economy for everyone. She told the crowd that, I believe that when we have millions of hardworking immigrants contributing to our economy, it would be self-defeating and inhumane to try to kick them out. So comprehensive immigration reform will grow our economy. So ang problema aning immigration debate is that neither side is revealing the whole picture. No? Trump might cite Borjas' work, but he overlooks his findings that the influx of immigrants can potentially be a net good for the nation, increasing the total wealth of the nation or the population. While si Clinton pod, she ignores the hard truth that not everyone benefits when immigrants arrive. For Americans, the influx of immigrants hurts their prospects significantly. Now, this second message might be hard for Americans to process, but anyone who tells you that immigration does not have any negative effects does not understand how it really works. When the supply of workers go up, the price that firms have to pay to hire workers go down. Wage trends over the past half-century suggest that a 10% increase in the number of workers with a particular set of skills probably lowers the wage of that group by at least 3%. So even after the economy has finally adjusted, now those skill groups that receive the most immigrants will still offer lower pay relative to those that received fewer immigrants. So I guess usa pod anang usa sa dakong murag argument ni Trump, no, against illegal immigration kay kanang the number of kanang illegal immigrants have kanang nga moadto sa Amerika, mga high risk po ng ilang manulod, no. Kay usa silang gikahadlokan pod gikanang murag pasulod og drogas kay tungod sa Mexico gikanang galabi sa imigrante, so gamiton sa mga cartel para padala o para smuggle og mga drogas or mga human trafficking, etc. no, or kanang usapod nga ng mga problema ha kanang ang mga kuan nila taxpayers mo yung mga stress ana kay sila may mag-suffer usually gyud sa kanang mga criminality nga mahitabo ana. So again, there are two sides to the immigration story. So the massive inflow of refugees and Iraq has raised alarm bells once again. Now, but has not proven to be as damaging as expected. Now, the IMF predicted that the flow of refugees fleeing the war in Syria and Iraq would actually grow Europe's GDP, albeit modestly. So in Germany, the inflow of refugees from Middle East has not affected social welfare programs and had very little impact on wages and employment. So they have also brought much needed labor to the economy, according to some sources. Now let's look at the benefits and detriments for the sending countries. So even if 90% of the value generated by migrant workers will remain in their host countries, they have sent billions back to their home countries. So if you look at the chart, no, these are the recent world's top remittance recipients of 2020 according to dollar. So first on the list na ang India, no? So ang India held the highest record remittance at about 70 billion, followed by China 62 billion. Nasa una ang Pilipinas may nauna sa Mexico by 28 billion and ang Mexico 25 billion. Pero it looks like according to the 2020 statistics no via the World Bank no naapsa na ang Pilipinas sa Mexico. And I believe nga ang pandemic nakaapektar pod ana no. So here are some of the benefits for the sending countries no. Since these remittances make significant contributions to the development of small and medium-term industries that help generate jobs. Now, remittances likewise change the economic and social standing of the migrants as shown by new or renovated homes and their relatives' access to new consumer goods. No, so if makabantay mo, if naay either OFW sa pamilya or namoy kailangan na OFW, no? Especially if tinarong ra ng trabaho sa gawas and yang pagtrabaho sa gawas para suporta sa pamilya, so magpadala na siya kwarta, then maluag-luag ang kinabuhi. Depende po sa kahimtang ng OFW dito, no? Kay naman po makadungog mo putag storya nang ipatulpo nga murag kalisod pud sila dito, din mga tabang para uli. So as long as they murag butang nato as long as they go through the legal process or the proper channels no para ma-guarantee ang ilahang safety and security once they start working in other countries. No? So ang purchasing power pod aning mga migrant families they will double and make it possible for children to start or continue their schooling. Pero naagya po yung mga serious questions or concerns about the economic stability of those reliant or gasalig no anang mga migrant monies or kanang kwarta nga gipadala og balik no. So the Asian Development Bank observes that in countries like the Philippines, remittances do not have significant influence on other key items of consumption or investment such as spending on education and healthcare. So remittances therefore may help in lifting the household out of poverty, but not in rebalancing growth, especially in the long run. So more importantly, global migration is siphoning or ilang gikwaan og mga qualified personnel and removing dynamic young workers, no? So kaning process of siphoning or kanang makuhaan og mga qualified workers, no? This is what has been often referred to as brain drain. Now, according again to the McKinsey Global Institute, countries in sub-Saharan Africa and Asia have lost one-third of their college graduates. Now, 60% of those who moved to OECD destinations were college graduates, compared to just 9% of the overall population in the country. So, ibutang na to, 52% of Filipinos nga mo live for work in the developed world have tertiary or college degrees, no? Which is more than double that, 23% of the overall Filipino population. So furthermore, kanang pagawalaan ng mga professionals in certain key roles such as doctors have been detrimental or problema para sa mga migrant home countries. Now, in 2006, some 15% of locally trained doctors from 21 sub-Saharan African countries, they migrated to the United States or Canada. So, the losses were actually very steep in Liberia, where 43% of doctors left, sa Ghana, 30%, and Uganda, 20%. So if you've noticed nga kaning mga lugar mo puning mga lugar nga kinahanglan unta kaayo og doktor for murag butang natog humanitarian purposes butang nato, di ba? Kay sila dito mas ginhawa man ang ilaha pong kahimtang, ilang healthcare, it's not very good, no? Pero in order for these doctors nga to make a profit or not even make a profit, basically just make a living, no? So I think you will understand ngano pong kinanglan sila mo biya sa ilahang home country or country of origin. So kaning mga gobyerno, no, aware po na sila aning long-term handicap, pero they have no choice but to continue promoting migrant work as part of the state policy, because ang kaning mga remittance, no, mo impact mo sila sa GDP. So they are equally concerned with generating jobs for an underutilized workforce. And they are also concerned in getting the maximum possible inflow of worker remittances. So governments are thus actively involved in the recruitment and deployment of work. And some of them have been setting up special departments like the Bureau of Manpower, Employment, and Training in Bangladesh, no, the Office of the Protector of Immigrants with the Indian Labor Ministry, and kanang sa Pilipinas, we also have the Philippine Overseas Employment Agency. So, kaning sustainability of migrant-dependent economies will partially depend on the strength of these institutions. So gawas anang problema anang ginatawag nila og brain drain napoy usa ka issue nga kinahanglan lantawon, especially when protecting these migrant workers, no, kanang human trafficking. So according to the US Federal Bureau of Investigation or the FBI, ilang gilista ng human trafficking as the third largest criminal activity worldwide. Now, atong 2012, kanang International Labor Organization, nakabantay sila nga 21 million men, women, and children are victims of forced labor. So, kanang 3 out of every 1,000 person worldwide, no? Mga yanana ng mga sitwasyon na. So 90% or 90% aning mga biktima are exploited by private enterprises and entrepreneurs, no? So 22% are sexually abused and 68% work under compulsion in agricultural, manufacturing, infrastructure, and domestic activities. So I guess murag kanang illegal recruitment, no? Dres Pilipinas kanang pasaligan nga nindot og trabaho dayon mayo ka igor kang katabang adto og arabo pero di ay to kulatado. So I guess that is one form of human trafficking, no? So kaning human trafficking has become very profitable, earning syndicates, smugglers, and even mga corrupt government officials profits as high as 150 billion in a year in 2014. Governments, the private sector, and civil society groups have worked together to combat human trafficking, yet the results remain uneven. So, integration. So, a final issue relates to how migrants interact with their new home countries. Now, they may contribute significantly to a host nation's GDP, but their access to housing, healthcare, and education, it's not easy. So, there is, of course, considerable variation in economic integration of migrants. So, migrants from China, India, and Western Europe often have more success, while those from the Middle East, North Africa, and Sub-Saharan Africa face greater challenges in securing jobs. So in the United States and Singapore, there are blue-collar as well as white-collar Filipino workers. Kanang white-collar, parehaan ng mga doctors, mga engineers, even mga corporate executives, no? So it has been kaning mga white-collar or kaning mga professional workers that have oftentimes been easier to integrate. Democratic states assimilate immigrants and their children by granting them citizenship and the rights that go with it, especially kanang public education. However, without a solid support from their citizens, switching citizenship may just become a formality. So, namagod sila yung mga linguistic differences or customs from the old country and as of late, differing religions that create a gap from between the migrants and the citizens of receiving countries, particularly in the West. Kaning mga migrants manggo, they are bringing their own culture from their home countries. And usually, there are times that they are amplifying differences in linguistic and ethnic customs. Crucially, the lack of integration gives xenophobic and anti-immigrant groups more ammunition to argue that these new citizens are often not nationals in the sense nga they are kanang not sharing or they are sharing the dominant culture. So kani po mga migrants po, no, they unwittingly reinforce the tension by keeping among themselves. Di po sila mo integrate or assimilate with kanang other people or other people gawas anang ilang mga kapwa migrants rapod, no? So usually kanang mga first time nga mga migrants na po na sila anxiety when coming to a new country. And often they feel like it is a strange place mitigated by local networks of fellow citizens that serve as the migrants' safety net from the dislocation of uprooting one's self. For instance, the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association of California provides initial support for new Chinese migrants, guiding them in finding work or in setting up their small businesses. Usually, mga businesses nila dito, mga restaurant, laundromat, or miskag mga convenience store, more or less nga na, no? So in the state and elsewhere, the drawback of this network is that instead of facilitating integration, they exacerbate differences and discrimination. So governments and private businesses have made policies, no, changes to address integration problems like using multiple languages in state documents. Naasad sila yung mga training programs complemented with counseling. Have also helped migrant integration in Hamburg, Germany. While retail merchants in Barcelona have brought in migrant shopkeepers to break down language barriers while introducing Chinese culture to the citizens. So whether these initiatives will succeed or not, no, it still remains to be seen. So to conclude, no, global migration entails the globalization of people. And like the broader globalization process, kani po siya, it is very uneven. Now, some migrants experience their movement as a liberating process, no? na ay mga highly educated professionals na they may find moving to another country very financially rewarding. Pero kato pong mabiktima og human trafficking, no, they will find the process of migration very kanang dislocating and disempowering. So diha ra nato undangon ang atong lesson karon, no? Next time we will discuss the global cities. So thank you again for joining me for today's lesson. I will see you on the next video. Bye.